Hi and welcome to Polly Puts the Colour On. Thank you so much for joining me today. So in this video, this is going to be my part 2. So part 1 will be linked down below of all of my completed pages from Millie Marotta. If you could, I split it up into part 1, part 2 because I have got 9 of her books. So obviously that is quite a lot of completed pages to go through. So in part 1, I showed you her first few books of Animal Kingdom, Tropical Wonderland, Wild Savannah, and Beautiful Birds and Treetop Treasures. So these were the first few books of hers that I purchased. And then we're on to this newer ones of Woodland Wild, Curious Creatures, Secrets of the Sea, Island Escape, and Precious Planet. So I'll start with Woodland Wild. If you've seen part 1, you'll know that there's a bit of a theme going through my books. I do quite often use the colour palettes. Amanda Colour suggests each month. I will link her channel down below, obviously. So here I was trying out my Inktense pencils and watercolour pencils. So I do really like how this one turned out. They both look really nice as a double page spread, I think. So I didn't do any shading over the top. I just put the Inktense and the watercolour pencil down, blended it out with my watercolour brush, a little bit of gel pen for the eye, and then that was it. Same on this side. So I do like how they turned out. Then we've got this little chap. So this was water-based markers and then a little bit of Bambino crayon with my circle stencil template. Just add a little bit of a background without it taking too long. Because by the time I've coloured a picture, I don't always want to spend ages on the background. I know some people do and they look amazing, but that's not really my thing. Then we've got this one here with, again, water-based markers, a little bit of chalk pastel in the background, and then I used a gel pen just to add a little bit of a pattern in the background. Can't really see the chalk pastel that well on the camera. It is quite faint, but it does look even paler on the camera. But it just looked quite pretty in real life. So then we've got this guy. I decided for this one, snails are normally, grey, boring coloured. I picked basically my brightest water-based markers that I'd got and just went a bit to town on this one. So it's a bit garish, it's a bit wacky, it's a bit out there, but I do really like how this turned out. It's like my little disco party snail there. And if anybody's wondering, usually water-based markers don't go through on this. There'd be a very, very slight bit of shadow in there, but it's not gone through. And I think that was probably the darker purple, and I probably went over it a few too many times. So the paper's it's not the best paper, but it definitely isn't bad paper. It is quite nice to work on. Quite often I use my Prismacolors and they turn out fine. Like for the Inktense here on these ones, it went through there, but I've not been using Inktense long, so I know I probably put far too much water there, whereas this side has come out okay. So here again, Amanda Colours monthly colour palette, Prismacolor pencils. I do like how this turns out. Even though I'm not scared of spiders, but they're not my favourite creature. But I do think this turned out really, really pretty, and I do like the washi tape that I put around the edge just to finish it off. So I do tend to find with the illustrations I pick for Millie Marotta's books, they're generally relatively quick to colour. Because like you can see here, picked Prismacolors, but there's 5 colours suggested, and I don't generally blend with them. I literally just block colour with my Prismacolors, just because it's giving me a nice easy colour palette. Kind of already suggested. So here I did water-based markers and then distress ink in the background, bit of water splattering, bit of watercolour splattering as well for a little bit of shine. I do really love how bright this turned out. I think it looks really pretty with it having like the flowers on the feet. It's quite a nice one. Then we've got this one. I do really love the colours on this one. So I did do some blending here on this one, even though I think it was the colour palette. Did manage to get some colours blended together on this one. So I think this little hedgehog turned out absolutely adorable. A little bit of black gel pen again for the nose and the eyes. Didn't bother with the background because I thought I didn't want to detract from the main image. And then in this one again, got Prismacolor Did do a little bit of blending here and there to make a few extra colours. I think this was a really pretty colour palette for this little, I think it's some kind of deer or something, isn't it? And then again, a little bit of washi tape around the edge. I do like my washi tape sometimes for finishing off a page without having to actually put a lot of effort in. Like, it just gives you a bit of something without it taking ages. Then we've got Curious Creatures. And here we go. So this one was quite an early one. This was probably one of the first pictures I imagine I coloured in this book, with some cheap watercolour pencils that I had. I don't know what brand they were, but they didn't blend out particularly well. So other times where I've mentioned that I've used watercolour pencils, they're the Arteza ones, and they do work a lot better. So then again, Prismacolors here, washi tape, a little bit of water, colour splattered in the background. I have bought off Etsy a few times just like little sample bundles where they've just got like the little amount of sample of watercolour paint, like a bit of card. So I'll show you here some examples. So I mean, like these where it's just the little samples, you can sometimes buy them on Etsy. They're sold as like a bit of a bundle, mixed bag. So it gives you quite a few different colours to play with, and it works out perfect when you're just needing a little bit to splatter in the background. So this was probably, I would say, the second page I ever coloured in this book. Quite cheap pencils. I seem to remember, I think I did this on holiday and my daughter helped me with it, and then it was her handwriting a few years ago. Let's see, when was this one published? This was published 2016. So she would have only been 3, which maybe she might have been about 4, I would guess, saying from her handwriting there. But I do like this one just because it's not the best colouring, but it does hold a lot of special memories with it having, been done with my daughter. Then here I've got watercolour pencils, my Arteza ones, so that's why they've worked a lot better. Bit of gel pen, and then I've used some, so I think it was chalk pastel in the background, from the feel of it. I do normally fix it, but I can see from how it's gone on other bits of the page and come over the edge, that must have been chalk pastel for me to have got it everywhere like that. I do really like how that one turned out. I don't know, I'm not always drawn to these styles of illustrations. I do normally do the ones where it's the animal made out of the leaves and the flowers. I do quite like that one. It was a bit different. Then we've got this cute little axolotl, Prismacolors, and then I use some of the Prismacolors on my circle template for adding a few bits into the background there. I do really like how that one turned out. I think it was a really pretty palette, that one was. Again, my Arteza watercolour pencils. Just thought it was something really sweet about having the tail curved around the edge. But I was never going to colour each little kind of furry bit by itself, so I literally just did a big block of watercolour pencil and blended it all out and didn't bother with any shading because I thought I haven't got patience for that. I'd get too bored. But I do still quite like how this turned out. Again, a bit of washi tape on the corners. Then water-based markers, a little bit of gel pen. You see some shiny bits on them there. Chalk pastel in the background. And then Bambino crayons again with my circle bubbles. Then I've got this page. As you can see, I think I used watercolour paint and it really has ghosted through quite badly on there. But I'm not too bothered because I know I don't think this is a page that I would actually colour, to be fair. So, it's no problem. I do really like how he looks from this side. So that turned out well. So again, Arteza watercolour pencils. Do really like how bright it turned out, and then various watercolour paints for the beak and all of the little berries, and I even did a little bit on the leaves as well. So I do really like that. A bit of chalk pastel in the background. There's this guy. I do really like porcupines. I think they look so funny, don't they? So water-based markers, a little bit of chalk pastel, a little bit of gel pen pattern just kind of doodled on in the background, just because I thought the chalk pastel looked a bit boring. Didn't really know what else to do at that point. I don't think I'd got watercolour paints because this one was done much before this one was. So just used a bit of gel pen to add a bit of pattern in. And then I think I've got one left in this one. Do you really like this one? I think it's such an adorable illustration, isn't it? It's just those big eyes and then the little feet. Just looks so cute. So again, the monthly colour palette, which I think turned out really sweet for this one. A little bit of washi tape around the edge. Again, it's quite a popular theme. Now, although this isn't like the kind of the style I'm drawn to, I do really like sloths. So I might colour that page one day because I think it is quite sweet. Then we've got Secrets of the Sea. And I've got a fair few done in this one. So we've got some water-based markers and some gel pens that I was trying to get used up. A little bit of washi tape. If in doubt, I tend to put washi tape on the edges of my pages, as you've probably noticed. Then we've got this one. This was a lot of fun to do. So water-based markers for the actual illustration. Then I did chalk pastel, but then I splattered a load of watercolour paint on, and I do really like the colour palette and just how it all came together on that one. I think it looks a little bit moody, but also kind of bright and colourful. So I think that turned out quite well. And then we've got this double page spread. Otters are one of my favourite animals, so I knew I had to colour this page, even though there's a lot of leaves and I just get a bit bored. So I used my Inktense pencils and watercolour pencils on here, which really speeded up the leaves. So I didn't bother doing any shading over it. I just used a few colours on it and then blended them together. A little bit of chalk pastel in the background and a little bit of watercolour paint here and there on the otters. I think if I was to tackle this page now, I'm happy with the otters, and to be fair, the leaves aren't too bad, but I think I would do something a bit more with the water, try and make the water look a little bit darker down the bottom and maybe make these look a bit more look like sun rays, but I wasn't confident enough to tackle that. To attempt that when I got this book. So it is what it is. I am still really happy with it because I can remember how proud I was when I finished it, and I'm not going to judge myself for what my colouring was like a few years ago, because this book came out in 2021, so 4 years ago, and I know that this was the first pages that I actually coloured out of this book. Like I say, the otters are my favourite, so I had to colour those. Then we've got this, which isn't a kind of page that I would normally be drawn to, but for the colour palette, I think it turned out really well. I think my daughter picked this page out for me. I picked this book and went, right, these are the colours I'm going to use, pick me a page. And she was like, well, they'd work quite well for the feathers, wouldn't they? I was like, oh, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I didn't expect her to pick this page, but I do think it turned out well. And then a bit of glitter gel pen around the edge. Distress ink and water splatter on the background. So although it's not a page that I would pick, I am pleased with how it turned out. And then again, I think this would have been a the monthly colour challenge, and then a load of watercolour paints in the background. As you can see on this page, when I did the water splatter, it has kind of gone through, but I know I won't colour this version where there's less patterns. I've coloured this one where there is the patterns on, so I'm not bothered that it's gone through. And then a little bit of pencil, again the Prismacolors, but very softly so that it wasn't too dark. Again, this book doesn't hold up all that well to watercolours, so it's gone through quite a bit, which is a shame because I do quite like that illustration. I could see myself colouring that at some point, but I would have to do something to rescue the page. But I do have acrylic paints now, so maybe this is a page that I could look at tackling at some point, because the actual illustration isn't too badly affected. It is more the background, so I could probably paint over that, I guess. I do really like these manatees. I do want to do those at some point. Just need a few more hours in the day. And then we've got this polar bear. So water-based markers, glitter gel pen, bit of chalk pastel in the background, and then I think I smeared a bit of Stickles glitter glue on round, so that's the sparkle that you can see in the background. Really like the colour scheme that I've got going on there. Then we've got this one, water-based markers again. I did a little bit of chalk pastel and then just a little bit of watercolour paint at the top and bottom, but I must have been a lot more careful because it's not really gone through there. So I think if you're careful, you can maybe get away with watercolour in these books. Maybe just double check what illustrations on the back, just in case it does go through. And you don't want to accidentally ruin, one of your favourite pages. It's on the reverse. Prismacolors again here. Did do a little bit of blending, and then some washi tape around the edge. I think that one's really sweet as well. That could look really cute as either a moon or a sun, couldn't it, in the background? So then we've got Island Escape. I've only got a few coloured in this one, so obviously this is one of the newest ones. So Prismacolors here, a little bit of washi tape top and bottom. What I do like is in one of her first, I think it might even be in Animal Kingdom. Is it Animal Kingdom? Yeah, I think it might be in Animal Kingdom. There's a dragonfly page that I coloured, and I did use kind of similar colours for this one, but I do really like how this one turned out. It looks really sweet, such lovely colours. Then we've got this page here, again Prismacolors, very different kind of colour palette. This one that was suggested by Amanda Colours, but I do really like how it turned out. Like, it's quite unusual, I think, with the greens and like the purples. Bit of washi tape as well, just to add a bit of something. This one is probably one of my favourite pictures out of this book, and yeah, I don't particularly like snakes. I wouldn't say I'm scared of them, but they're not my favourite. But I don't know, there's just something about this picture. I think it's the colours of the pencils, but then also how bold I went with the watercolour paints that I splattered in the background, and then I think the colour of the washi tape just really sets it all off. I think this is probably one of my favourite ones in this book, which I wouldn't have expected because, like I say, snakes aren't my favourite. I think it is just the colours on that one that I really like. And again, I do really love this one as well. I think it's very different for her to do just a face. It is normally more just the animal or maybe the side profile. I think this just looks really pretty. So this was a lot of fun trying to map out where the different colours would sit, so that it would look quite cohesive in the end and not have, too much colour here and not enough there. I'm really pleased with how that one turned out. A little bit of washi tape on, and then that's everything actually out of Island Escape. So then we've got Precious Planet. Now this one is her newest book, so it is the one that I have got the least coloured in. So again, if there's any books that you'd like to do a buddy colour in, please get in touch. It would be nice to hear from you, even if it is in a few months' time we set the buddy up for. If you're busy, that's fine by me. It's just nice to hear off people. So I've got watercolour pencils here, a little bit of gel pen to cover over some of the lines, a little bit of watercolour paint in the background as well, for the bubbles and just the main background. As you can see, it did really go through, especially on the bubbles, because to get the bubbles nice and shiny, I did put quite a bit of watercolour paint on. Obviously the paper hasn't held up too well, but I'm pleased with how the page turned out. And I think the only other page I've got coloured in this one is this picture. So this is probably one of the smallest designs actually out of the book. But I do really like this. Again, the monthly colour palette, that just seems to be very much a repeated theme. So big thank you to Amanda Colours for sharing that every month, because it is much appreciated. And then the washi tape on this one actually has got Winnie the Pooh and Eeyore on. From a distance, you can't really see it all that well. You just kind of see the colours, and I thought the colours go well. But it is such an adorable little washi tape. And then I've got a page tagged, which I'm hoping I might colour this month in June, with again the colour palette that was suggested by Amanda Colours for June. thinking it'll turn out well. I'm just not quite sure if I'll get time to get to it, but it is on my list. So hopefully, so if you would like to buddy colour on this for the end of June, you know, there's not a lot of time left, but you never know. We could set it up. So yeah, that is all of my completed pages from my Millie Marotta book. So if you've not seen part one, please go and check out part one. It's got like my very, very earliest colorings, but then also some of my, you know, more recent ones mixed in there. So you can see my whole coloring journey. So yeah, drop a like, give me a comment, you know, your favorite book. And especially if you'd like to do a buddy colour, it would be great to hear from you. Please check out my Ko-fi as well. I haven't got anything on there yet, but I'm hoping very soon to start to get some colour combinations on there. They will be available for free, but obviously, you know, you can leave a small donation when you download them, you know, if you find them useful. So yeah, take care everyone, and I'll catch you in the next one.